We are rolling. We're rolling, folks. Can you believe where we are? Jason, I gotta agree with you there. In reference to the live action, Jason and I would agree that it never happened. Kind of like the Star Wars prequels, but I digress. Anywho, okay, we're at week 3. You got 1 week left. Oh my goodness. I mean, you got this week, but then the final week is that not just, you know what? It's mind-boggling. It is mind-boggling indeed, folks. And you know what? It's no small feat. That's actually true. So let's take a look. See, I love this quote here: "Being human and taking risks are the foundation of creative results." You know what? I think we're all here because we wanted to be creative, because we are creative, and I think time after time, some of our greatest heroes, some of the people that we admire so much in regardless of what industry you're in, whether you're in the tech field or music field or the film field, whatever it is, those people, they took risks. They took risks, and sure, they might have failed once or twice or thrice, but yeah, they took risks, and they're in a pretty good place right now. You know what I mean? So I want to encourage you to think along those lines. When you're kind of stuck, or when you're, in there's this word that artists like to use. They like to throw around that writer's block, right? Well, in our field, we can't afford to have that block. We kind of have to like make things happen. We have to take risks. Otherwise, if you know what, if we wait for things to happen, if we wait for that inspiration, we could be waiting a long time. um, oh yeah. Indeed, Rocky Balboa has some of the best all-time quotes. Yeah, absolutely. All right, so let's roll. Watch all of the go-to training sessions, especially next week. Now, I say this, folks, because sometimes I can tell a student's doing really well in week 1, week 2, week 3, and then week 4 something happens. I don't know what happens, but they won't attend the last session and they'll miss some really, really important information. So I just urge you to, keep coming to the sessions. You have this one and then the next one, and then that's it. You're on to the next one, on to the next. Sorry, I like that song a lot. But yeah, keep attending, keep watching the recordings, and so on. And of course, be resourceful. This is a really, really good time. Always be resourceful, and there's just so much stuff at our fingertips. It's ridiculous. So many things to learn from. But this week in particular is a good time to be resourceful. Um, if whatever your program you're using, if you decide to use PowerPoint or Keynote or Prezi or Adobe Spark, a lot of our students like to use Adobe Spark. There are so many learning tutorials on YouTube, on lynda.com. So I would definitely, make Lynda your best friend, not just in this class, but all throughout the sessions. Okay, sorry about that, folks. Little technical issue. Everybody can hear me okay? Okay. Fantastico. All right, so let's talk about your 2.3 and 2.4 grades. Hello, 2.3, those were pretty awesome. I'm not done with them, but um, um, they were pretty awesome, and I knew they would be. That is definitely my favorite assignment because like I told you guys last week, I learned so much about you guys. I learned so much, period. I learned about new shows, new music, oh my goodness, new bands, all kinds of cool stuff. So as far as your grades, you're going to see your grades trickling in for your 2.4 planning assignment all day today and tomorrow. That's the fastest I can hammer those out for you. I am doing my best. As far as the 2.3, you'll see those a little bit later because Like the 2.4, it's on my part, I'm just saying, I'm just kind of explaining the how the grading process works. But on the 2.4, it's on my part, it's reading. I'm basically reading your outlines. But for the 2.3, I'm sitting, I'm listening and watching these. So there's more time involved, in other words. So that's why you're going to see a little bit of you'll see those grades trickling in as late as Thursday. I apologize, but again, I'm working as fast as I can for that. But the 2.4, you definitely see those no later than tomorrow. And if you have any question at all about that, please just shoot me an email, eathappy@fullsail.com. As far as your plan, got a question about the plan, or you got a question about the first draft, which the first draft, speaking of, we're going to be talking a lot about that in today's session. So as always, I ask for your patience. I'm gonna try my best to go through all the essential elements about it, right? And yeah, so let's do it. So yeah, about the plan, here's the thing I want you to realize, because and I may have briefly hit on this last week, but planning planning in general, it makes some people uncomfortable, right? Because some people, myself to a degree, um, like to think of ourselves as free spirits, right? We don't know what's going to happen. And here's the thing: don't let this plan make you feel like you are just totally confined and just blocked and you can't do anything, right? Your plan might change. It might have already changed, in fact, and that is okay. That is totally okay. The idea for this assignment, for this plan, is to simply establish a foundation of knowledge. Because otherwise, if you're just kind of going through it blind, if you're just kind of like, okay, I wanna be a game designer. Well, that's great, but it's not going to be as helpful as if you start a direct path into learning about that field. As far as and that's one of the reasons why we encourage you to pick a company, even if, okay, I'm going to use video games again, but even if um, you don't particularly want to work for Square Enix, but you love video games, you want to be a game designer, and you happen to like a few of their games, even if you picked that company, Square Enix, you would be much better off studying what it takes to get into a game company like that. You know what I'm saying? Than if you didn't at all. If everything's just up in the air and you're kind of guessing, the reason is things will move a lot faster when you graduate. I know I said this before, but it's really, really important to know that. So it's important to do as much research now and along the way up to the point of graduation. Excuse me. Oh, my throat is just completely shot. Sorry. I'm so sorry, folks. You're very patient. I appreciate your patience and putting up with my nasally voice. Anyhow, so yeah, so it is important to research what you need to know. That sounds really mundane and just all too simplistic of a fact, but it's about knowing what you're going to need to know. And that is going to help you very much so in your pitch. Because if you don't know what you're going to need to know, you won't know what to say. You won't know how to pitch yourself. That's another reason why we encourage you to, with a fine tooth comb, really dig through your degree program, really go through every course, read the description for every course. And for this pitch, for this assignment, pick a handful of courses that you think are going to benefit you in that kind of pitch, right? Same thing if you wanted to start your own business, you have to look at it in terms of, okay, I want to start my own business. Do I want to take this from a direction to as far as am I pitching to investors? As if that is the case, you need to approach it slightly different, but you're still going to need to do your homework. You're still going to need to know, what does it take to start a business in that field? What does that kind of person need to know? What programs will you need to be proficient in? What hardware will you need to know? Um, all right. Okay. We are recording. Yes, we are. All right. So let me see here. Okay. Moving right along. So the 3.3 presentation community board. Let me explain what that's all about. Um, pretty straightforward. So it's basically sharing is caring. This is the week where you're gonna just go on the discussion board, kind of like make a comment or two about what's going on as far as what you're using, what kind of program you're using, what progress you're making. Maybe you found a really helpful tutorial. Hey, share it with the class. Or maybe you're struggling with a particular program. Maybe you chose, I don't know, I don't want to name any particular program, but let's say you chose a particular program and it's just not, you're running into roadblocks and it's not working for you. That would be a good time to post it on the discussion board and say, hey, I decided to use this, but I'm really struggling. Does anybody have any experience with this program? Can you help me out? And blah, blah, blah. So you're going to see a lot of posts like that this week. So yeah, it's all about, you just throw up a couple of comments as far as, what's going on, what you're using, how things are going on your first draft. If you found something cool, share it. If you're running into any issues, yeah. Makes sense as far as the 3.3 community board. Does that make sense? It's really straightforward. Um, Essentially, this week you only have one assignment to worry about, right? And it's a good time to just maybe every day throughout the week, just keep checking out the discussion board, because you might find something really helpful. Like you might in fact be running into the same exact issue as a classmate. So yeah. All right. The 3.4 assignment. Okay. Oh, wait. Before I go on, let me just a reminder. The 2 student sample presentations. How many of you guys have checked those out already? I posted those on the 3.3 community discussion board. Okay, cool. If you haven't, make sure you check them out. Both of those presentations, they received high marks. They received really good grades for a few reasons. One of them was their delivery. If you play it back, you'll notice that they both have really good flow to them. There's no awkward pauses. There's no there's no uhs, there's no they have a really good confident delivery. And how did they achieve that? Well, it's pretty obvious when you play it back and listen. It's pretty obvious that they had a solid script. They wrote out a solid script. They rehearsed it. They timed it, and that was the end result. So that's one reason why they received a good grade. The other is their selection of images. If you notice, the images are really vibrant. They're very crisp. They're high quality. They're evocative. They're not just generic clip art. They're not forgettable. They're good. They're very good. They're appropriate. They're effective. So that is another reason. The other reason they received high marks is the way that they discussed their full sail journey and their professional qualifications. So definitely take a listen to those 2 sample presentations. Right? Okay. The other thing I just want to caution you about, so, and maybe you've already done this before, like if you go to YouTube right now and you were to just type in Full Sail, first draft, create a presentation. If you went to YouTube and you type that out, you would see a lot of presentations, a lot of first draft, create a presentation. Yeah. So here's the thing. Here's the problem about that. The problem is I don't know what kind of grade they received. They might have gotten an A plus, they might have gotten a B, they might have received a C or a D. You know what I'm saying? There are different creative presentation teachers, so yeah, they might not have been me. So I just caution you when if you decide to do that. Now, the student sample presentations that I posted on here on the 3.3 discussion board, those are good ones. Those are really good ones. They're really good kind of samples to you know to work after. Make sense? Does that make sense, folks? Let me know. All right. Okay, cool. Cool. All right, and as always, please make sure that you're keeping up with the assigned readings. Um, and above all, do not wait until the weekend to start on your first draft. You will just be hating life because there's not just the aspect of working with a program like PowerPoint or Keynote or Prezi or Adobe Spark. It's not just that. There's a number of things involved. You're writing out your script, right? You're writing out your script. You're getting it just right. You're looking and kind of, you're picking apart your plan. And in addition to that, you are also looking for images. That is much harder than it sounds. And in a way, finding images, it's really fun, but if you don't do it right correctly, it can really just ruin your presentation because you don't want to use any images. You want to use the best ones. You want to use the most powerful images. So that takes time. So make sure you give yourself plenty of time to look for images, to work on PowerPoint, to watch any kind of tutorial that you might need to watch. It takes time. It really does take time. This is why in week one, I encouraged you to play around with any presentation program. Fire it up, see what it's like, and you'll be much better off for doing it. Good question, Jason. As far as speaking of images, you are more than welcome to use your own images. A lot of people do that, especially those in game art or graphic design. They use their own images to kind of highlight their portfolio, and it's really cool to see that. It's really effective. The only thing I would say, if you decide to do that, make sure that when we look at your slide, when we look at your work, that you have your name and the date and perhaps the title of that work of art on somewhere on the slide. You know what I'm saying? So it should be on the slide and it should be also on your sources slide. I'll go into that in much more detail in a bit, but in other words, when we're looking at your work, or anybody, when anybody's looking at this presentation, there should be no question whose work of art that is. Make sense? All right. We still there, folks? Hello? Okay. Okay. So this is the 3.4 assignment. This session. I'm afraid it's going to go over an hour because there is a lot to discuss. So I do ask for your patience, please. I know it's a lot, but it's recorded, so don't worry about that. Anyhow, so as far as software applications, this is also really, really important. Make sure whatever you use, software program, as far as like presentation programs are concerned, make sure that whatever program you decide to use, it allows you to make unlimited edits and changes. This is really, really important, especially for the final presentation. Now, the reason is there are programs like Powtoons. Anybody heard of Powtoons? Powtoons is really cool. I've seen a lot of presentations using Powtoons. Here's the problem, though. The problem is they'll let you use it for free for one time, but if you go back in there, like say the next day, and you try to make a few changes to your presentation, they will try to charge you. Now, if you want to pay for it, that's your prerogative, but I don't expect that at all. There's a lot of other free programs out there, and depending on your device, what you're using, I would just do a search online, free presentation programs for iPhone, for iPad, for Android, whatever the case may be. Um, Anywho, so the really, really, really important as far as whatever program you use, make sure that it allows you to make unlimited changes, unlimited edits. All right. So now to let me kind of elaborate on that. So when you turn in your 3.4 first draft on Sunday, Sunday is the due date. On Sunday, I'm going to get it. I'm going to grade it. I'm going to provide you with notes on it. And so what you'll do is you will take those notes and you will apply it to your final presentation. So in your grade, in your first draft grade, you're going to see some notes such as, I might say something like, hey, I noticed you only had 4 slides. Please add at least 12 more slides, including 12 more pictures or images. Or I might say something like, hey, I noticed you had background music in your presentation. I like the music, but it's very loud. Please lower it on the final. So you're going to take my suggestions and apply them to your final. Cool? Make sense? All right. Okay, so just a little kind of heads up as far as presentation programs are concerned. PowerPoint for mobile, it doesn't have a record feature. So in other words, it'll allow you to make a slideshow, but it doesn't have that record button. So you would have to kind of include the audio separately if that was your only route, like you didn't have anything else to use, you could do that. All right. Yeah. So I would just do a search on the web for an application that works with your device. I know this sounds like a really, really huge no-brainer common sense tip, folks, but whenever you use a program, make sure that it's compatible with whatever device you're using. Yeah, I know. Don't You're rolling your eyes. You're like, I know. Come on, I'm not stupid. But it happens. Sometimes we just dive right into a program. We spend hours using it, and then we can't figure out why it's not working. All right. So moving right along. Okay, so yeah, whatever program you decide to use, make sure that your presentation sounds continuous. Yes, in the first draft, you will have to talk. You will be including your audio narrative. So whatever you use, you want it to sound almost like a one long continuous speech. You don't want it to sound kind of broken up and awkward, kind of like, well, not like this. You don't want it to sound like, hi, I'm Eddie Tapia. I'm here to talk to you about why you should hire me to work for your company. You see how that was really choppy? And it was just kind of like you could almost hear me click on the return button to change the slide transitions. You don't want it to sound like that. You want it to sound almost like it's been just one, continuous recording. So I wish. Yeah, Morgan Freeman. So you know what I'm saying? Try to make it sound continuous. You don't ever want to make the audience feel like they're waiting for the next slide to happen. All right, so yeah, the first draft is due this Sunday, and the 2 big things you need to have in it are an audio narration and visuals. What do I mean by visuals? Just images, pictures, some evocative pictures. Now, I'd say don't film yourself because one time I got a presentation where the student was filming himself standing in front of a projector screen, clicking through his presentation. So that's not, obviously that's not what we want. This is just basically a slideshow. So in a way, it's kind of like the 2.3 emotional storytelling assignment. Because if you remember the emotional storytelling assignment, the main thing about that was I needed to hear your voice. Here, it's a little different because I need to hear your voice, but I also need to see images, like a slideshow. I think you'll have a much, much better idea of what I'm talking about once you check out the 2 student sample presentations on the 3.3 discussion board. So yeah, make sure you do that. You'll have a much, much better idea of what to do. All right, so let's do. Oh yeah, I have Audacity in here. I know a lot of you guys have used it in the past. A lot of our students have used Audacity with a lot of success. It's very user friendly. It's basically a free online audio editing program, and of course, there's tons and tons of tutorials on YouTube on how to use it. Alrighty, so screenshot this. This is very, very important, folks. Very important. So the first slide of your 3.4 presentation, on the very, very first slide, I need to see this information. Everybody screenshotting this? Screen capture. All right. So you want to have your name, the date, and the exact name of the assignment. In this case, it's the 3.4 first draft. Yes? Okay. So I also need to see the exact time, the duration, not the number of slides, but the exact duration of the presentation. So in other words, jot down if it's 3 minutes and 22 seconds. Jot down if it's 3 minutes and 45 seconds. Jot that down. Very, very important. Also, you probably already know this, but just as a reminder, the presentation's got to be between 3 and 4 minutes long. No less than 3, no more than 4. All right? Okie dokie. So, last but not least, you'll want to include a slide for your sources. In other words, where I need to see where you found the images that you included in your presentation, right? I don't mean what I what I don't want to see is I don't want to see like I click on your sources slide and all you have written there is I found all my images on Google. That doesn't tell me anything. So try to be as specific as possible. At the very least, I would like to see the original link where you found that image from. That's it. The original link where you found the image from. It is, absolutely. Citing your sources is very important to the artist and creator of the image. Absolutely, yeah. This is true if you include anything of yours. I mean, it's kind of like if you had an image, you had a really cool image that you spent a lot of time on, right? And it went on the internet and somebody decided to use it on their whatever, on their maybe on their website or maybe on their presentation, and they didn't give you credit. That would that not bug you to pieces? Yeah, it would bug me. Right? Okay, so make sure you have a sources slide. I would say at the very end of your presentation. Just put that sucker at the last slide. And again, all I need to see is the original link where you found the image from. Cool. Cool. So as far as those of you who are interested in including their own original artwork, as far as this is concerned, you can put something like slide 2, original drawing 2008 by Eddie Tapia. You know, something like that. Slide 4, original drawing, Eddie Tapia, 2009, Camelot, whatever. See what I did there? I gave you this what slide it was on, when I did it, and the title of it. All right, moving right along. So let's talk a little bit about this concept in your first draft about the big idea. And again, when we say that, it's not really about presenting any random crazy new idea. It's basically about convincing your audience why they should listen to you. Why, in this case, it's going to be a client, it's going to be a customer, it's going to be a company, right? So in this case, you are convincing them, trying to, about why they should even hire you. So the you have to be as specific as possible, and you have to just highlight your qualifications. All right, so what should I talk about? All right, hold on one second. Mitch will email me about that. Yeah, anytime anybody you have a question or concern about anything, please don't hesitate to email me. Cool? Yeah, that's not cool. Okay, well, let's go. Let's move along. Alrighty. So, as far as what you should talk about, since this is a pitch, since you are pitching yourself to a company, you're everything you say, everything you show needs to serve one purpose. It needs to help your pitch, right? So really be thinking about what you want to talk about, what you want to include in your presentation. Like, do I really want to talk about that time where I broke into my neighbor's house and smashed up their TV? I don't know if I want to mention that. Your past is your past. And ultimately, the way you need to be thinking is this going to help me? Is this going to help my pitch? Is this going to help my chances with this company, right? So yeah, always be asking yourself. And as far as like, what should I talk about? To ask yourself, is what I'm saying going to help me land a gig with this company, with the company of my dreams? Or um, if you're pitching to investors, you basically need to tell them why you're responsible and why you are the person to spearhead this project. All right, because they're not going to just throw money at you just because you love what you do. That doesn't happen. All right. So yeah, it's about being as specific as possible. So you don't want to focus on what you want to do. You don't want your presentation to sound like I want to do this and I want to do that and I want you to give me this and I want you to give me that. No. It's got to focus on what you can do because in some ways this is very similar to an interview. And what interviewers want to know? They basically want to know two things. They want to know who you are, right? They want to know who you are, but they also want to know what you can do for that company, for them, right? So do mention your specific professional qualifications. Do mention a handful of industry specific courses that you completed at Full Sail. Now, again, I'm gonna just kind of reiterate what I've said. The courses that you mention, they need to be of interest to that interview. So, for example, I know I gave this example last week. I believe I did. So, if you're pitching to, I don't know, um, someone give me a pitching to. I'm going to say Hit Factory. So let's say you're pitching to Hit Factory, a world-renowned recording studio, and you say, "I recently graduated from Full Sail. I took creative presentation and English composition, and I learned a lot of things over there." Well, what are they going? They're going to be like, "Okay, I'm glad you took English comp, but what do you know about mixing and mastering?" That's what they really want to know about. Same thing if you're in game art, game design, and you're pitching to a video game. What kind of courses would they be interested to hear that you completed? Think about it in terms of that scenario. Oh, and please Please, I'm begging you, don't say they should hire you because you have fresh ideas or because you're young. Because you know that just Jason's like, dang it. Oh, the thing is, it might be true. You might have fresh ideas. You might be young, but the thing is, the thing is, they want people that know what they're doing. They want experience above all, above all, above all. So yeah, the whole fresh ideas and young thing, you know, for one, it's so generic. You hear it a lot, and you see it so many times on resumes. So it's yeah, you never want to say something so broad and general. Uh, yeah, sorry to burst your bubble. All right. So again, your presentation's gotta have a slide for your sources, for your images, anything that you use in your presentation that doesn't belong to you. Um, I don't know, maybe it's background music. Maybe you decided to use background music in your presentation. Jot down who it is, who wrote it. An image that you used on slide 3, include the link where you found that image. So do not just write Google Images or images on Pixabay. That tells me nothing. That doesn't tell me anything. So yeah, include the original link where you found the image. All right. Oh, script. So important to write out a script. And I think you kind of got this, you know, as far as like what I was talking about with the script when it came time to record for your 2.3. Because as far as your 2.3, 2 to 3 minutes is not a long time. You know, before you know it, you're running out of time and you're almost at 2 or 3 minutes. Same thing's going to happen with this one where you only have 3 to 4 minutes. So really hash out a solid script. Really make sure you talk about the key points. Talk about who you are, maybe a little bit about your background, where you're from, what you did at Full Sail, some courses that you completed, some software that you're proficient in. Um, if you have any work experience that would be relevant to that pitch, hey, talk about it. Definitely. Man, if you have military experience, you better talk about that, right? So yeah, rehearse, know your script. Definitely know your script, but you never want to sound like you're reading from it word for word, because then that just there's an immediate kind of disconnect and it makes you sound disinterested. There's so many ways that you can improve that connection with your audience. One of them, of course, is to articulate and be passionate about what you're talking about, right? Okay. So speaking of slides, how many slides, Mr. Eddie? Oh, here's the thing. I hate to answer this question because if I say 10, what's going to happen? I'll get exactly 10. If I say at least 11, I'll get exactly 11. So let me just say this. Whenever I say at least anything, you should always give more than that, right? If a director tells me, hey, at least I need at least 2 minutes of music right here, guess what? I'm going to give him about 4 minutes of music. He can do what he wants with the rest of it. But anywho, as far as how many slides, you should have at least 13, not counting the title page and the sources page. You should have at least 13. Cool. And what's really going to determine that is when you are playing it back and watching it and timing it. If it feels like you're staring at one image for too long, you might need to include another slide, right? Because the presentation, a good presentation, especially this kind, it has a nice groove to it. The images are rolling nicely, the narrative is rolling nicely. It doesn't just stop on one slide for an hour, right? Again, take a look at the sample presentations. They do a really good job of that. Okay, here's another thing that is really important, but it's different depending on the presentation program you're using. Like PowerPoint's different than Prezi. Adobe Spark is different. Every program has this feature where you just kind of go up to the control panel and you select, sorry, play automatically. It might be worded a little differently, but the reason this is really important is, let me give you an example. Have you ever had to sit through a presentation where the presenter is standing in front of the screen, but somebody else is holding the clicky button? And so they're kind of like saying, here, I'm here today to talk to you about photosynthesis. Next slide, please. Photosynthesis is the process when blah, 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 blah. Next slide, please. Have you guys ever had to sit through a presentation like that? It's murder. It just kills the flow of a presentation. So when you don't set it to play automatically, you lose control, and you never want to lose control of your presentation. You need to be in control of the presentation. So what you don't want to happen is you don't want to send a presentation to somebody and have them clicking through slide to slide to slide. So in other words, when I get your presentation or whatever file it is, whether it's Adobe Spark or Keynote or Prezi or whatever, I need to just be able to open it up, press play, sit back, and watch your awesome presentation unfold. Cool. All right. And of course, again, with a ridiculous no-brainer, but please, before you submit it, play it back, watch it, listen to it, time it, sorry. Have someone else watch it too. It's so helpful, because you're gonna spend some time on this. Believe me, you're gonna spend some time, and after watching it 4 times, 5 times, you're gonna be so sick of watching it. But if you just have someone else watch it, they could very well find something that you didn't spot. It happens all the time. It really does. Okay, my favorite presentation don't. I'm going to be talking to you guys about some presentation do's and don'ts right now. My favorite one is bullet points. Do not include bullet points in your presentation. Bullet points were the rage. Like, what, 15 years ago, we just saw, nothing but bullet points, fact after fact after fact, bullet point after bullet point. This is a persuasive presentation. It's a pitch. You're trying to inspire this audience you're trying to convince them to hire you, right? So there's nothing inspirational or memorable about watching a presentation that's just riddled with bullet points. It kind of does make the presentation robotic. It really does. So what Nancy Duarte suggested all through both of her texts, Slideology and Resonate, and all through this past month, we have been talking about the power of visuals, the power of images. And in week 1, remember that example I showed you with the children under the freeway studying education. They were going to school, right? That's the power, the difference that a powerful image can make over a dull image or no image. Bullet points, they do nothing of that. So should you have bullet points? Thank you. Thank you. Yes. I mean, no, sorry. No, and no. I should not see any bullet points. Get rid of them. They're not moving. They're not exciting. They're dull. It's a nice try. I'm on to you. All right. The other thing is you want to avoid having a huge chunk of words, of text on one slide. And this is one of those other techniques that we used to see all the time in presentations. And I know you guys have also seen them as well. You've seen your share, have we? Have we not? Presentation slides that you're just looking at basically a wall of words. Yeah. That's another thing that you wanna stay away from. Whoa, see, this is exactly what I'm talking about. Huh? So this kind of information, it's better said, spoken, than just printed on your slide. I could have instead something much more effective like an evocative image. Yeah, nobody's going to read this. And what usually happens when we see a presentation where the presenter has something like this, what do they end up doing? They end up reading it word for word, and you feel like a total idiot, right? Well, at least I do. I'm like, I can read. You don't have to read this to me. Okay, so what you want to do instead is, maybe one or two words. I'm not saying you have to have any words at all, but if you choose to have words on your slide, make them short. Maybe a key phrase, a couple powerful words, maybe a quote. A quote is very effective. Why? Every time we see a quote, it always makes us think. It either makes us, we either connect with it, in one way or another. We either agree with it or disagree with it. Either way, we think about it. For a split second, we think about it. And a good quote will make your audience think about it a bit longer. It does. It really does challenge the audience to think. Yeah, absolutely. So quotes are very effective. However, let me caution you about quotes. So if you, in a presentation, I would recommend using one or two quotes maximum. If you have more than that, you can have 10 of the most powerful quotes, most inspiring quotes, 10 quotes, but guess what? By the time the audience sees the 10th quote, they're going to forget the first one, right? It will happen. So maybe one or two quotes maximum, if you decide to use quotes at all. Make sense? All right. So let me give you an example. So see, kind of like what I did here. This is along the lines of what you should be aiming towards. So I found an interesting picture and matched it with an interesting thought-provoking quote. Sometimes life is like this dark tunnel. You can't always see the light at the end of the tunnel, but if you just keep moving, you will come to a better place. Huh? See? Anybody know what this is from? I mean, the quote. Don't try to Google it. I know what you're doing. It's from Avatar: The Last Airbender, Uncle Iroh. Don't worry, I'm not gonna use Mr. Uncle Iroh's voice, although I kind of feel like it now. But never mind. Sometimes life. No, sorry. I know. Anywho, okay. So yeah, always, as far as images go, use a powerful image in your background. If you have a quote or any kind of word, what we should be looking at in the back is a nice, crisp, high quality, thought provoking image, a powerful image. Images. So whether you're a graphic designer, game designer, web designer, you're in music production, whatever, regardless of what degree program you're in, your presentation should reflect your creativity. You know what I'm saying? So you never want to say something like, I'm a very creative person, but all you do is show clip art. No. Mm-mm. So yeah, you want to be looking at evocative images, not provocative. There's a big difference. So evocative, powerful, right? Not provocative. So, and again, as far as images are concerned, one of the things that I'm going to go back to that week one image that I showed you with the children under the freeway, in school in a lesson. The reason I loved that image so much is because it told a story. I didn't know that boy's story, but I knew there was a story there. Same thing when you're looking at images. When you're looking for an image, the best images are those that you just take one look at it and they kind of have a story behind them. So be looking for high quality images. You don't want your presentation to look blurry. You don't want any image to look blurry or pixelated. Yeah. right? Professional. So yeah, kind of treat it like a job interview. Put your best foot forward. This is a lot of, in many ways, it's kind of like a calling card. It's like your business card. And you know this, you know that very often we don't get a second chance. So if this is your first impression, you want to put your best foot forward. All right. So yeah, I said professional, but what do I mean by that? Don't make it look like an HR booklet. You know you know what I mean by that? And you're gonna find this. You're gonna find this when you go online and you start looking for images. You're gonna find a lot of pictures of um, business executive people with suits, shaking hands, holding laptops, with a fake smile on their face, sitting around a boardroom. That kind of looks like an HR booklet, right? People dressed in suits, shaking hands, sitting around a conference table. You know what I'm saying? It just looks too perfect. Everybody's really, really happy. You don't necessarily need when I say professional, I that's not what I mean. All right. So, okay. So, what I would recommend is one image per slide. You want to use one image per slide, kind of like this. This is along the lines of what you're aiming for. Whenever possible, allow the image to fill up the entire slide. Take a look, see. So, this slide, it's not exposing the back, it fills up the entire slide. That way, the image gets, we can really, really appreciate every detail about the image. Also notice, I don't have a lot of words on this slide, but the words that I do have, they kind of pop. They have a nice bold pop of color, a nice punch of orange, right? Um, the placement of the text is also very easy to read. I didn't put it somewhere where the white would be kind of lost and I wouldn't be able to read it. So this is along the lines of what you need to be looking for, what you need to be aiming for as far as image placement, font selection, and font placement as well. All right. Avoid the collage. What's a collage? Collage is kind of like when you have multiple images on a slide. Now, this is tricky, especially in a fairly short presentation. The reason why I don't encourage collages is because it's in a short presentation, it's too much for the eye to look at. And even if every image in that collage is just really cool, we're not really going to be able to appreciate each one because the presentation is going to be moving along. So I would avoid this collage effect and just stick with one image per slide, especially if it's original artwork, right? If you're including your own original artwork, man, just fill up that slide with that image. Make sure that we can see it fully well. Other thing I would discourage is using default templates. What do I mean by that? So like, for example, whenever you open a presentation program for the very first time, whether it's PowerPoint or Keynote, you guys can see this, right? So when you open a program like that for the first time, you're going to see something like this. It's going to give you an option of using any one of these templates. These are default templates. The reason I would discourage this is it kind of like, it doesn't really push your originality. It doesn't make your presentation look original because you're using a generic default template, right? So that's why I was saying, whenever possible, try to fill up the slide with the image. Good question, Matt. Should we use an image for the background on our first slide? I'm okay if you don't use an image on the first slide because the first slide is basically just mainly for information. And now I'm not saying all I'm saying here, sorry, I'm going to try real hard not to be confusing. Um, It's optional. So the first slide, if you want to include a picture, a drawing, some kind of graphic, anything like that, that's fine. I'm fine with that. But I do definitely need to see the information such as your name, the date, the duration of the presentation, and so on. Make sense? All right, cool, cool, cool. All right, so yeah, these are default templates. In a presentation, it's not that they're bad. It's just it kind of it doesn't make your presentation stand out as original. Because guess what? So many people use these templates. All right, so yeah, look for high quality images. There's places like Creative Commons, archive.org. Those are just a couple of places. So many places to choose from. Now, be careful with your search keywords. You guys know where I'm going with this? So, so what'll happen if you go and type in imagination in Google? What's one of the first images you'll see? Thank you, Mitchell. Yes, yes. So here, Mitchell nailed it. He said SpongeBob. So yeah, it's true. It is true. If you type in imagination in in Google, that's one of the first images you're going to see. You're going to see SpongeBob. So why am I saying this? The reason I'm saying this is I want to encourage you to not choose from the first image that pops up. I want you to look for the best image that pops up, right? The most evocative image that comes up. And that, again, that's going to take you a little bit of time. You're going to have to really sift through because you're going to see so many images. Yeah, be careful not to pick the first one. Choose the best one. The best one. All right. Clip art. What the heck is clip art? So you could easily go into the Google and type in Microsoft clip art. But clip art's basically generic, quirky drawings for mass consumer use. This is clip art, folks. This was the rage, what, 15 years ago? It's really just kind of there's not a lot of emotion behind it. Clip art, I think it's great if you want to make like a booklet for a flea market, you know, 2 for 1 socks, you know, something like that. Then yeah, clip art would work just fine. Here's another clip art. Should I buy this TV? You know what I'm saying? It's very generic. There's not a lot of feeling behind it. It's really plain. And unfortunately, they've made a more modernized version of clip art where the stick figure is it's a little rounder. It often comes in colors like silver. It's not black anymore. It's like silver or red. So yeah. All right. Oh, this is a beauty. Here's another clip art, folks. You see what I mean? It's just, yeah. It's got its place. It's got, but definitely not for a persuasive pitch. For a pitch where you're trying to convince people that you are creative, you are the person to work in their company. So yeah, try to stay away from smiley faces, emoticons, and don't be tacky. What does that even mean by that? Don't be tacky. So yeah, let's say for example, you're trying to convince this company that it's going to be a very profitable decision to hire you and that hiring you is going to make them a lot of money. And you decide to throw in a slide like this. That's tacky. You know what I'm saying? It's just it's a given. If you're interviewing for a company, it's a given that you want to make money. You know that you're going to do your best. That's so you don't really need to state it. And I know you asked this before. Stay away from memes. Why no memes? Because they have an expiration date of like yesterday, maybe 2 weeks ago. I know they're just, but do you know what I'm saying though? They're they're funny, but they just lose their impact really fast. And chances are that you might have seen it, or maybe you saw it just recently, and then you send it to a friend, and they're like, "Yeah, I saw this last month. It was kind of funny then, and I kind of got sick of watching it." So that's all. That's what I mean by memes. I would avoid that because and it's quite possible that the audience has already seen it. What if you create your own? What if indeed? It really depends. It just depends how it's executed, how random it is. Because memes are, let's face it, they're super random. You could be thinking about frogs, and then all of a sudden you get a meme about a flashlight, right? So I would think about that. How relevant is it in your presentation? How effective is it? Okay. All right. So video game companies. I'm going to give you an example. Yeah. Oh, sorry. So, anybody pitching to a video game company or Disney or Pixar or mobile device? Ooh, Bethesda. Yes. Nice. Naughty Dog. Um, music equipment. Sorry, music. I meant music company, music studio. Okay. So here's the thing. As far as images go, I'm gonna paint a scenario for you. So let's pretend for a moment that I'm pitching to Nintendo, right? Just pretend I'm gonna pitch to Nintendo, and I have a presentation that's 15 slides long, and 14 of those slides have nothing but Nintendo game images. What's the problem there? The problem there is that I'm not showing my audience something new. Yeah, it's not my work. Definitely, it's not my work, but I'm not, they're kind of like, okay, yeah, all right, thank you. Yes, yes, I worked on that game. Okay. You're not really moving them. You're not showing them anything new. You're not showing them anything original. That's why I'm asking you to think outside the box. Now, I'm not saying don't use any of their images. Yeah, sure, use a couple just for context that you know who they are, you know what they do. That's fine to use a couple, but the majority of your images should be memorable, should be different, should be your goal should be that you're trying to show them something that they may not have seen before. So same thing if you're pitching to Disney or Pixar. Let's pretend I'm pitching to Disney, and I got a presentation and it's 14 slides long, and 13 of those slides are just images of Goofy and Mickey and Aladdin and on and on and on. So I'm not showing them anything new. They're going to be bored really fast. You get the idea, right? So again, I'm not saying don't use any of the company's images. It's okay to use a couple, but for the most part, you should be looking for evocative images that are going to make them think, images that are telling a story, not so much images that they've already seen. Make sense? Anybody have a question about that? All right, hold on 1 second, folks. Okay, sorry about that, folks. Ba, 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 ba. Okay, sorry about that. I'm seeing a lot of questions here. Just want to make sure I get them. By the way, if you asked a question earlier and I didn't get to it, I apologize. This scroll bar goes by really fast. If I missed a question, just please don't hesitate to email me at etapia@fullsail.com. Just one second. Do, 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 do. Yeah, like I said, it's okay to use a couple of the company images, but you definitely don't want to. That shouldn't be everything that your presentation, is about. Is it okay to use images if the image of the game contains a new item? Again, I would use it sparingly. Sparingly. For the most part, you want to show them something new. All right. Okay. Same thing if you're in the mobile device, mobile app program, you might be tempted to just show pictures of iPhones, Androids, old phones, new phones. But are you showing anything that we haven't already seen? Same thing if you're pitching to a music studio, you will be very tempted to show pictures of expensive mixing consoles, expensive microphones. But here's the thing, if you're pitching to a world renowned recording studio, guess what? They work on that stuff every day. So you're not showing them anything cool. Or, yeah, it's cool, but it's not anything new. So I would aim, because your presentation isn't just about music equipment, right? Or if it's video game, it's not just about, pictures of their video games. You're trying to tell a story. So again, be looking for images, powerful images that tell stories that are going to be memorable in your audience's eyes. Oh, celebrity images too. Be careful with those. I mean, we all know we're on social media all the time. So what is it going to do if you show us a picture of a celebrity? Unless there's, something really special about them, like you've worked with them before. But if you're just going to throw it out there just to throw it out there, just to, kind of like fill up the slide, that's not going to be impactful. All right. Okay, let's spelling. Yeah, again, going back to first impressions, spelling is just something really basic, and that's why I encourage you guys to have somebody else look at your work. If writing is your isn't your thing, that's even another reason to have somebody take a look at it, because they might be able to spot something that you didn't find before. Oh yes, no one needs to know your age. Now, if you want to include it, it's fine, but you don't have to. You don't have to tell us your age. It's not really important. There's and in fact there's some things in there's like unwritten rules in interviews that they should never ask you. Like they should never ask you if you're married or have kids or what religion you're on, you believe in, whatever that may be. That's none of their business. And anytime somebody asks you stuff like that, that should definitely raise a flag in your mind. Now, if you want to talk about that stuff, if you want to mention, your kids is just kind of part of your bio, talking about yourself. If you feel comfortable about that, hey, cool, that's totally fine. But you're not obligated to. Make sense? Now, introductions. Be careful with this part, folks. You should only include a brief background, a little bio about yourself. That's it. That's it as far as introductions go. Keyword, yeah, brief, brief. So you want to be careful with the old. I remember when I got my first gaming console. Is that really how you want to start your presentation? Um, it might have been a special time for you, but is that really how you want to start the presentation? Is that going to be something memorable? That's how you need to think about it. Is what I'm saying going to be memorable, or does it kind of sound a little generic? Right? Okay. So the journey again. What kind of journey are you taking your audience on? And going back to what I was saying earlier, everything you mentioned, it's got to serve a purpose. It's got to lend weight to your credibility. So be careful with mundane details. Do we need to know every single place that you lived all throughout your life? Not necessarily, unless it's really, really important. Do I need to know every single high school that you attended? Not necessarily. You can talk about high school if it's relevant to your presentation. Like maybe you won a major robotic award, right? And the company that you're pitching to is in that field. Then heck yeah, that would be appropriate. Duh, duh, duh. Yeah, that's true. You'll have to fill that out in your application for the job anyway. So this is kind of the information that's going to whet their appetite, that's going to get you through the door, that's going to make you stand out and make you special. So you want to be careful with those mundane details, like that the like everything you did kind of stuff. Well, first I wanted to be a doctor, but that didn't work out. Then I wanted to be a scientist and that didn't work out either. Then I got a job as a bartender, but I got bored with that. So when you hear something like that, what as pretend you're a company, what would you think? What would you think of that candidate? um, Maybe a little indecisive, right? That they can't really stick to one thing. Uh, Problem child, I don't know. Well, that yeah, no staying power, perhaps. Folks, listen. Even if it's true, even if you know, because hey, I jumped around, doing all kinds of stuff, throughout my life, all kinds of jobs. But do we need to include this in our pitch to our dream company? Is it going to help us? That's what you need to think. Didn't work out. That's funny. That's funny. All right. So you get the idea, yes? Okay. Yeah, talking about the first time you played Sonic the Hedgehog and how that was when you decided to look up Full Sail. Is that how we want to captivate our audience? I don't know. In my little humble opinion, we need to be thinking of something else, something a little bit more unique, something that's gonna make our audience remember us by. And no history lessons. When you're pitching to a company, again, you don't want to show them something that they have already seen, but you also don't want to tell them something that they already know. Like, okay, if you're pitching to Bungie and you start talking to them about how far video games have come, and you start talking about the first console and the second console and the third console, right? Do they need to know? They kind of know that stuff already. They know the history of video games, yeah? Right? You know what I'm saying? Same thing if you're pitching a Def Jam Records and you start talking about to them about the history of rap and hip hop, they might roll their eyes. You know what I mean? And so yeah, don't no history lessons. Now it's different if you're talking to them about some kind of shocking statistic. Some kind of shocking statistic that they won't necessarily, or that is not really necessarily known to the general public. That is a different story. That's a different story. But the whole thing comes down to knowing your audience. Know your audience. Don't tell them stuff they already know. So again, just to kind of reiterate, as far as your Full Sail courses are concerned, they should be industry specific. You don't want to talk about just any Full Sail course. Talk to them about the kind of course they would be interested in hearing about. Yeah. Ooh, anybody interested in putting a little background music in their presentation? Anyone? Okay. All right. So let me uh let me caution you. All right, so you guys know I'm a film music composer, so this is I take this very seriously. I must warn you about background music, and the first warning is your voice should be significantly louder than the music. It's gotta be significantly louder than the music because your voice, your message is the most important thing in the presentation. I don't care how cool the song is. Your message, your voice, that is it. You are front stage, front center, whatever. You know what I mean? All right. So here's the thing. Avoid music with lyrics, a prominent bass line, screeching guitars. It boils down to the instrumentation. I would say avoid any kind of music with a really complex and active instrumentation. And when I say avoid music with lyrics, I mean, singing, any kind of singing. The reason is it's a distraction. It's like trying to listen to two people talk at the same time. You're talking to me, you're narrating, but I'm also hearing this guy singing in the back. It's distracting. You don't want that kind of distraction in your presentation. Let me give you an example. And bear with me if I shared this with you before. A student presentation, really, really great presentation, really good flow, really great delivery. For his background music, he chose Eminem's song "Lose Yourself." Now, I love the artist. I love the song. It's got a great energy to it. The problem is when I was watching and listening to the presentation, it became almost like a competition between Eminem singing and the narrator, trying to talk. You know what I'm saying? I found myself very, very distracted. So you don't want that to happen in your presentation. Okay. All right. So you see what I'm saying? You gotta really, really be careful as far as background music. Really be careful. I would avoid short loops. Those sometimes some presentation programs they come with um, default loops. Here's what I would suggest as far as short loops, and the reason why I discourage this is because, all right, you have a presentation that's 3 to 4 minutes long, and you have a loop that's 40 seconds long. What's going to happen? What will happen? That loop is going to play at least twice by the time the presentation is over, right? And guess what? The audience is going to notice that. The audience is going to, oh, okay, that loop just started again. So you want to be careful with short loops. If you're looking for a loop, look for a loop that it's, pretty much the same length as your presentation. Because again, it takes the audience out of that experience. Alrighty. So be careful, folks. Be careful with background music. Who's heard of We Star Music? Has anybody heard of We Star Music? No. Oh man, We Star is awesome. So We Star Music, it's free to Full Sail students. To use it for free, you have to jump onto the Full Sail online library. Go to the Full Sail online library. You don't have to do it right now, but after the session, take a look. See, it's pretty awesome. Go to the Full Sail online library. Once you click on the library, scroll down to where it says Research Database, and it's under Research Database. Go all the way down and you'll see We Star Music. Now, what is We Star Music? It's basically a gold mine of all kinds of like copyright free, royalty free music, sound effects, music clips that let's say you're in digital cinematography and you're making a short film and you need some gun sound effects or you need some rain sound effects. Well, We Star Music has that. They also have all kinds of sample music that you can use for free. It's really awesome. Really awesome. It's a huge library of music and sound effects. So yeah, by all means check it out. It's very, very useful. Cool. All right. So, show, don't tell. Avoid those generic resume catchphrases. So, in other words, in your presentation, I shouldn't see those resume catchphrases. Do you guys know what I mean by that? Do you know a few? Do you know a few? What are some words that you see written all the time on resumes when describing the candidate? I'll give you a sample. All right. Here are a couple of really great ones. Oh, that's a good one. Fast learning. Yes. Or I'm creative. I'm a hard worker. I'm a team player. Yeah. Oh, that's a big one. Team player, you see a lot. Hire me. So, yeah, we shouldn't see any of this in your presentation. Now, here's what would work so much better. You know, you might very well be a hard worker. You might very well be a team player. And if so, that is awesome. But guess what? They are going to forget that. If you say that, if you say I'm a team player, they won't forget it. What they won't forget is if you share a story of an example of when you were a team player, of when you kind of like you were you're working at this job and there was a big huge dilemma and you really came through for your boss. Hey, they are going to remember a story like that much better than if you just say I'm a hard worker, I'm a team player. You know what? So think of that instead. Share a story that displayed that quality. Oh, you guys are killing me. Alrighty. Okay, so stories. Yeah, story. People remember stories, not so much facts, right? I want. Your presentation shouldn't have that. It shouldn't have those words. I want. Because, yeah, of course, it's about what you want. Of course, you want the job, but you have to make it sound in terms of like what you can do for them, right? Alrighty. Okay, so what the heck is a star moment? What is this star moment thing? Star moment, something they'll always remember you by. Sorry, something they'll always remember. I shouldn't have said by, but it is star. It's kind of like, so the star moment happens in your presentation. It can be a few different things. Your star moment can be um, a story, repeatable sound bites. When I say repeatable sound bite, it could be like a quote that you repeat, or it could be your evocative selection of visuals, yeah, emotive storytelling, shocking statistics. So it could be any one of these, or it could be all of them. It depends on where you place them and how well you place them. It could be even be a quote like say for example you share a quote in the beginning of the presentation, and then at the end of the presentation you wrap up that presentation with that same quote. Evocative visuals, let's say your presentation has now become very memorable because of the selection of images you decided to use, yeah, or a powerful story that you share with your audience. A star moment isn't when you tell your audience how much you love video games or how passionate you are about video games. That's not what your star moment is. That's because the star moment has got to be unique. It's got to be special. It's got to make you stand out. Yeah, yeah. Alrighty. Okay. So let's see here. Where are we? Let's go back a little bit. Okay, so that is essentially the first draft, folks. This right here before me, this is the activity area where the instructions are. So just kind of as a reminder, you're going to create a presentation pitching yourself and your personal brand to a prospective employer based on the plan you drafted last week. Again, if your plan changed a little bit, that's okay. If you feel like your plan changed dramatically, just reach out to me. We'll chat about it. We'll figure something out. It's got to be between 3 to 4 minutes long. You can use any program as long as you're able to include images. So it could be anything like Keynote, PowerPoint, Prezi, Adobe Spark, Google Slides. Exactly. Yeah, I'm going to do my best to get those hammered out today and tomorrow. Yeah, I won't be sleeping. You do what you got to do, right? Okay. So you're going to project yourself as a graduate from the program that you're entering now. Use examples of things you're planning and hoping to do while at Full Sail as if you've accomplished them already. And also include the skills that you'll have acquired in your degree program, right? So your concepts and ideas, they got to be clear, and the visuals you should choose, they should enhance your message. Yes? All right. When is this due, folks? When is the 3.4 first draft due? Yes. Yes, yes, yes. Sunday. Sunday. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So as far as the discussion board, again, it's really, really straightforward. Just go on there, keep checking it every day throughout the week. Let us know what your workflow is like, what you're using, as far as what presentation program you're using, right? And that's about it. If you found a cool video that you want to share, a cool tutorial, post it up there and share with the class. And that is it, folks. That is it. Oh, you're welcome. You're so welcome. I know we went over. I know it's a lot of information. I thank you so much for your patience, everyone. I can't stress enough. Do not wait till the last minute to finish this. It's a doozy. It is a doozy. And again, if you haven't watched those 2 student samples, check them out. Check them out. They're on the 3.3 discussion board. Okay, folks. All righty. Have an awesome day, everyone, all right? Any questions at all, please email me at etappy@fullsail.com. I'm happy to chat about it. All right, cool, folks. Take care.